Behind every great person that has ever lived in the world. This book is behind their success, is behind their greatness. And if we are wise women, we will go into that same book that is the secret of people's success so that we can win in the workplace. Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the Workplace Women Living Empowered series brought to you by the Workplace Women is an organization that empowers women to win at the workplace. And we understand that to win at the workplace, you need to be empowered in all levels of your life. You need to be empowered mentally, you need to be empowered emotionally, you need to be empowered psychologically, you need to be empowered in every level of your life. But one area of empowerment that lots of people miss, one area of empowerment that lots of people don't seem to put in a lot of work is the foundational area of empowerment, which is the spiritual empowerment. And so we're inviting you to join us to delve into the well springs of wisdom, where we can get what we need to be empowered spiritually. So there is a book that made a book of principles that made great nations that are behind every great person that has ever lived in the world. This book is behind their success, is behind their greatness. And if we are wise women, we will go into that same book that is the secret of people's success so that we can win in the workplace. This is called the Living Empowered series, and we are committed to empowering women in the workplace. Millions of women like you and I need the empowerment. If there are people who have gone ahead, their experience empowers. If there are people who know certain principles, that knowledge empowers you. And if you're able to get that knowledge, you're able to win. And what better place to get the knowledge than in the book, main book of principles. And like I said earlier, that same book on which great nations, great personalities, great peoples were built. So these principles are time tested, they last forever. And so we're going in, and there are questions we're going to ask to further discover, to further delve into our discovery and, get the meat out of whatever it is we're reading. We're going to be reading from the book of Ecclesiastes, chapter 9, verse 1 to 18. So we're going to read the full verse of Ecclesiastes 9, the whole chapter, of Ecclesiastes 9. So if you have your physical Bibles, you open it. If you have a digital Bible, just go there. If you're on your computer, you can just Google or search for that and open it so we can read together. We usually advise that you read different translations. So the best translation to read, as they would usually say, is read the translation that you can understand. So when you read that translation that you can understand, you make discoveries easily. And that's the idea, to discover what God says, what the Creator says, what the main man behind the principles says about life and about how to win in life, how to be successful. So Ecclesiastes 9 verse 1 to 18 says, "For I considered all this in my heart, so that I could declare it all, that the righteous and the wise and their works are in the hands of God. People know neither love nor hatred by anything they see before them. All things come alike to all. One event happens to the righteous and the wicked, to the good, the clean, and the unclean, to him who sacrifices and to him who does not sacrifice. As is the good, so is the sinner. He who takes an oath, as he who fears an oath. This is an evil in all that is done under the sun, that one thing happens to all. Truly, the hearts of the sons of men are full of evil. Madness is in their hearts while they live, and after that they go to the dead. But for him who is joined to all the living, there is hope. For a living dog is better than a dead lion. For the living know that they will die, but the dead know nothing, and they have no more reward, for the memory of them is forgotten. Also their love and hatred and their envy have now perished. Nevermore will they have a share in anything done under the sun. Go eat your bread with joy and drink your wine with a merry heart, for God has already accepted your works. And let your garments, verse 8, let your garments always be white, and let your head lack no oil. Live joyfully with the wife or husband whom you love all the days of your vain life, which he has given you under the sun, all the days of your vanity, for that is the portion of your life, and in the labor which you perform under the sun. Whatever your hand finds to do, do it with your might, for there is no work or device or knowledge or wisdom in the grave where you're going. I returned and saw under the sun that the race is not to the swift, nor the battle to the strong, nor bread to the wise, nor riches to men of understanding, nor favor to men of skill, but time and chance happened to them all. For man also does not know his time, like fish taken in a cruel net, like birds caught in a snare. So the sons of men are snared in an evil time, when it suddenly falls upon them. This wisdom I have also seen under the sun, and it seemed great to me. There was a little city with a few men in it, and a great king came against it, and besieged it, and built snares around it. Now there was found in it a poor wise man, and he by his wisdom delivered the city. Yet no one remembered that same poor man. Then I said, wisdom is better than strength. Nevertheless, the poor man's wisdom is despised, and his words are not heard. Words of the wise spoken quietly should be heard, rather than the shout of a ruler of fools. Wisdom is better than weapons of war, but one sinner destroys much good. Great, one sinner destroys much good. So let's delve into our questions. So the first question we usually try to ask is, what do we discover about God? So we see this, and one of the first things I read was that the righteous and the wise and their works are in the hands of God. So God is in control of everything. Sometimes we don't really understand him, but he's in control, and it's very good. If I discover that God is in control of everything, it's something that puts my heart to rest, because of, not just because I know God is in control, but I know who God is. What do you learn about people? So what I learn about people is that we are all given life. Everyone that comes to life is given a portion of life to do something with. And so that's what I learn about people. Is there a sin to avoid? That's the number 3 question that we usually ask. And looking in here, in verse 3 says, there's an evil in all that is done under the sun, that one thing happens to all. So he was calling that sameness, of action and consequence seems to be an evil. But he says, truly the hearts of the sons of men are full of evil. Madness is in their hearts while they live, and after that they go to the dead. So evil is the sin to be avoided. Madness in your heart. So anything that is defiant of God's way, God's path, is sin. And so the sin to avoid is all sorts of evil. There might not be something specifically, listed here. There's a lot of instruction, but not particularly directing to a certain sin that you should avoid. So what we should do in such a case when we're looking at this is what instructions are given. Usually if an instruction is given, there's an opposite. If you don't do this that is being instructed, you're doing the opposite. And usually for an instruction in righteousness, the opposite of an instruction in righteousness is usually an action in unrighteousness. And so if they tell us things like, let your garment be always with white and your head lack no ointment, then keep yourself pure. That's what he's saying. It's like a word picture, but keep yourself pure and keep yourself anointed. Keep yourself in that flow where you are connected, where you are separated. When they say ointment, that pouring of oil is what is usually done to sheep. Shepherds do it to sheep. So what they do with the oil is that they cover the sheep with oil to put away flies. That's to send away flies. So what that oil does is that it creates a block. It creates a field around you that separates you from things that can defile. So when you keep yourself pure and you keep yourself covered, oiled, anointed, it separates you from things that would ordinarily defile you. So that's the sin to avoid. Is there a promise to claim? A promise is simply what is promised to you if you fulfill a certain condition. So there are conditions to the promise. That first scripture I read about things being in the hand of God, it says, the righteous and the wise and their works are in the hands of God. So that to me is a promise. Is there an example to emulate? There's a very great example I like. Yes, whatever your hands find to do, it's a great example to emulate. Whatever your hands find to do with all your might. The instructions usually paint an example to emulate. We've talked extensively about the garments, your garment being white and your head lacking no ointment. There's a part also following that, 9 verse 9, that says, live joyfully with the wife of your youth all the days of your vain life. So these are instructions, but within those instructions are examples. There might not be specific example because this is a book of instructions. So in most of the instructions lie the examples, lie the promises. Sixth question we usually ask is instruction. And we have seen to an extent that it's filled with instruction. It's filled with instruction about the head lacking no ointment, about living joyfully, about whatever your hands finds to do, do it with all your heart, for after this life, there's really nothing you can do. So make the most of the opportunity of life that you have, and that wisdom is better than strength. Sometimes it's not about the force or the strength that you bring into things, but about the strategy, the wisdom, the superior knowledge that you come into your work with. What superior knowledge are you working with? What do you know that others don't know? What insights do you have into things? And another thing that I want to point out here about like an example or an instruction to follow, especially we women at work, is that the words of the wise spoken quietly should be heard. So show up. If you have something that to offer, if you have built some level of competence, you have something to offer to your work, to the people that you work with, and you need to step up. You need to take opportunities to speak up. Just ensure that you have built the character and the competence. You've built what it takes to offer value. You've built value. So don't come out and speak up fluff. So that's why it says the words of the wise. So you ask yourself, am I a wise woman in my workplace? Am I being heard? With all that I've built over time, am I taking advantage of opportunities? Am I taking advantages of the platforms that I need to be heard, so that other people can benefit from that wisdom, so that other people can benefit from the impact or the value that you have created over the years? So it says wisdom is better than weapons of war, but it says one sinner destroys so much good. So you can see how when you step back, when you keep away from the limelight, when you say, okay, I'm not going to do my best. It says whatever your finds to do with all your might. If I'm not going to put my 100% in this work, if I'm not going to step up to opportunities, if I'm not going to take advantage of the resources or whatever it is that has been given to me, you're denying somebody of something. And those who have the opposite, that are stepping up, that are doing what they're doing, will keep creating, will keep destroying good. So work that is done, people who are there, people who are coming out, people who are doing evil or doing the opposite are now destroying good. But you that have value, you that have something to offer, you need to step up, and ensure that you take your place. There's a lot at stake, and you have to take that opportunity. You have to take the time. You have to be bold enough, you have to put in the work, so that when you stand out there, you don't stand out as an empty vessel. You stand out as somebody that is full of value, a quality vessel full of value, and bring the best into the space that you are called into. So final word I will give you is that we need to get wisdom and we need to get wealth. So you have to be spiritually empowered, that's the foundation. You have to be mentally empowered. You have to be emotionally empowered. You have to be relationally empowered. You have to be financially empowered. So as you're getting the wisdom, get wealth. So the wisdom that we're sharing in this Living Empowered series is for you to be empowered in your foundation, so that you begin to put to work the things that you're learning, and then you begin to experience growth in every area of your life. In precedes doing. and doing precedes having. When you are the right person, when you become, you'll be able to do, and when you do, you will have. Wish you success at work. This week, you will have all it takes to do superior work excellently and win in everything.